winter been treating you? You see it's snowing here. So let me ask you, are you one of those guys that, like me, parks your bike and the thing sits all winter until you get a dry day when you can finally get out and ride it? Or maybe you're the guy that rides it, likes to ride it all year long. You like to go out anytime the sun shines. You're taking that bike out as long as you're not slipping and sliding on ice. I have been there, done that, and I will tell you about this. In Northeast Ohio, I don't ride my bike in the winter anymore because they put a lot of salt on the roads. And you know, whether the roads are wet, you know, you think, well, I'll just wait till the roads dry out and I'll ride on the dry roads and I'll be okay. Well, you're wrong about that. I found out the hard way. When you ride on the dry roads, you still pick up the static salt dust, which sticks to the bike, and it can do a lot of damage. It really glues itself to the chrome, the aluminum especially, and you'll get I don't know if you can see it on mine very good, but you get this pitting like, and you can see where the salt spray, you know, laid on there and just ate that aluminum. And it also did some damage on my rims too. So no, I'm not so prone to ride in the winter anymore. If you are going to ride in the winter, even if you're riding on dry roads, let me recommend you have a warm garage bay where you can hose that thing off and get all the salt off of it. And I mean, really rinse it down good, because if you let it sit with that salt dust on there even, the moisture in the air will cause that salt to start to eat away like acid at certain things, and you'll start getting pits and dings in there. Now, let me ask you this. Are you the guy that likes to, maybe you bought a stock bike and you wanted to personalize it? Maybe you bought a couple little things for it, like I have over the years. You just add a couple little bells and whistles. Or are you that guy that it's like a money pit? You just keep putting more and more and more into it. And when is enough? You know, when does it get to be too much? When have you put too much into your bike? Well, first of all, I'm going to show you some of the things that I've done to my bike over the years, just to make it more of my own. Now, one of the first things I did was I've got a custom paint on here. Now, I don't know if you can see it, but down below you'll get like the reds or the plum color, and then as the sun hits it, like up on the top of the tank there, you see it's more of a gold. So depending on what angle you're looking at it, the color seems to change a little bit. You've got a little bit of bronze in there, some gold, and then you got just like the plum or the purple on the front, and sometimes you'll even see tinges of red in there. So that particular paint job was about $800. It wasn't a real expensive paint job, but it was pretty neat, and they called it a Harlequin paint. So I've been pretty happy with that. I'm glad that I did that. Of course, I talked before, I added the windshield. It's a clip-on windshield. It is real easy to put on and off. It just snaps on and off of there. I added these little nacelles over the headlights. They're the stock Harley chrome. And forgive me because I haven't polished the chrome. It has sat here all winter and kind of collected some dust. So probably in the spring, before I take it out and ride it, I'll put some wax on. I've been thinking about buying some of that F11. I've heard a lot about it, but it looks like online the cheapest you're going to get is somewhere around 70, 80 bucks for a bottle of it, and it looks like it comes in a kit with the rags, the application rags, and a spray bottle and stuff. So, but I've heard a lot about it, so I might try that F11 and see how that works, because I like my bike to be shiny and look nice. One of the things I've caught a lot of grief for is I put this fringe on there. Now this is real leather, and I have like these little beads and bone pipes, they call them. They're made out of bone. These little long elongated things that were drilled out. So I've added that. And I've had guys tell me, you know, only little girls with tricycles have fringe on their handlebars. Well, I think the fringe is old school. When you go way back into the 50s, you know, fringe was kind of a neat thing. And I think I like to kind of, I'm an old school guy, so I like to make my bike kind of old school. So that I did on my own. I didn't buy that. I have leather scraps, and I cut the fringe and added the beadwork to it. And you see I just kind of hooked it right over my clutch lever there with a little loop. And it's been on there for years. I have it both on the passenger and here on the driver's side. So you see I got some little brass beads on there, some black beads. But and then the other on the rear end here, I bought this, and it's got fringe on it. I bought this at the Easy Riders show, and it's leather, and it's got like snake skin inlay in there. It's a little dirty right now. It probably needs some leather conditioner on it. Again, with that, this custom tail chrome thing I added, so the fender didn't have that on there before, and I added that. This is probably the third set of saddlebags I've had on there. These are like all-weather bags, and they're really nice. They're pretty heavy, and they're not showing really any wear and tear at all. You know, where the water would hit them and stuff. They're still pretty solid, and they're roomy. I like them. They've got a lot of room in there. You can pile a lot of stuff inside there. One of the main things that I just did that I really like is the seat. So this whole seat system, if I'm not riding a passenger, this comes off. I just like the fender without the passenger seat. And that way when I was doing a lot of traveling and stuff, I could really pile my luggage up here on the back fender. But I took the old seat off, and I took it into this local lady, and she sewed all new leather on there. Now, the other thing she did is she put gel pads under there, which made a world of difference. The old seat was hard as a rock, and I put many, many, many miles on it, and it was all split, and the stuffing was coming out of it, and I knew I needed to do something. And I found this lady at a show, and she only lived maybe about 15 miles away. So I got a hold of her, and I took my seat over and dropped it off, both the passenger and the rider's seat, and she did both of them for a real reasonable cost. Put the gel pads in there and everything, and it took her a long time. It took, you know, probably a couple months. I kept bugging her, hey, you got my seats done yet? And I actually got into the springtime, and it was riding season, and I really cried to her, and I'm like, I'm already missing some runs that I could be on, and you have, you're holding me up here. I need my seats. So she finally came through, finished my seat. She's a real talented lady, and I was real pleased with that. As for the engine, it's a stock. It's the 80 cubic inch Evo. The smaller version of the Evo. I think the year after this they came out with a 90 cubic inch. So I've left it stock because the way I look at it, this engine was engineered the way it is to run at its best performance, just the way it is. When you start messing with it, it changes everything. And I've had buddies that have taken these and built, and they, oh man, you gotta build your top end, you gotta redo everything, and you gotta give it more horsepower. Nah, I don't need more horsepower. It runs pretty good the way it does, and I like dependability, not so much into smoking my tire off every time I take off from a red light. I don't need to be the fastest bike on the street. I realize it's a pig, it's a cruiser. It's not a race bike, and I never intended it to be. Comfort, style, and fun. That's what I'm about. So it's got the stock motor. Now I did add these Vance & Hines shotgun pipes, and you'll see they're pretty scuffed up. for me and the passenger. I've had to get the melted plastic off of them from rain gear and stuff over the years. They're showing a little discoloration in the back. I think I got a dent there where I dropped it over one time and the rock put a dent in there. They do have baffles in the end that come out. I can take the baffles out, but it's not good for the engine performance to remove the baffles, and it is loud. Oh my gosh, it's loud. And then when you let off the throttle, it has that wah, that roar like a truck like a semi with the engine braking. So I've left the baffles in. I did ride it when I was younger with the baffles out. It was loud, it was obnoxious, and I liked it. I also added this fringe on the floorboards just to stay in style with the back fender. I thought it was pretty cool. It's kind of classic. Gives you that kind of that Elvis look on there. Sweepers, they call them. So I added the sweepers. Other than that, nothing too much more. I just like to keep the thing clean and neat. One of the issues you'll have is you'll see back in here, you'll see a lot of pitting and stuff because your battery's right up there, and you'll get the battery powder, the acid will fall down in there. So you got to keep all of that clean up in there under where that battery sits, or you're going to have some corrosion there too. So that's what I've done to this bike. I had thought about getting different handlebars, which I never did. I did add the rear foot pegs. Those are not stock. Oh, and these floorboards aren't stock either. Those were something that I added. But I never did get any. I never did spend a lot of money on anything else on it. So that's pretty much everything I've done. Oh, the gas tank is not original. That is a 5-gallon tank. So the original one was a little bit smaller. So that gave me a little more fuel I could carry for longer rides. So when before I had it painted, I got a bigger gas tank on there too. I don't know. That is about it. As for the tire on the rear, it's probably the widest Dunlop that you can get, and it's probably about due to be replaced. The tread is actually getting very thin there on that thing, so I'm gonna have to get a new baloney on that thing. So what do you do to your bike? Some guys, I said, like, that's a money pit. They just keep putting more and more and more into them. We just went to the Easy Riders show, and you see these guys that put so much money into their bike. Custom paint, chrome, everything you can think of. And then they don't even ride them because they're so fancy. And if you do ride it, you have to wait for, a good warm summer day when you're just going to, like, take a spin up through town and back, because heaven forbid you get that thing dirty or something would break on it, or you would put a ding in your paint job or something. So I don't know. I think I'm about done putting money into mine. One thing I always wanted to do, let me show you this. These are the stock wheels, and they're aluminum. And mine, they don't really come clean anymore. They've got some pitting up in here that I've tried to rub out with some aluminum polish, and I suppose it could be done if I really put a lot of elbow grease into it and spent hours on them. But is it really worth it at this point? I'm not, my forks are already damaged from salt, so I don't want to put a lot of effort into the wheels either, because the forks are really, they'd have to be replaced. But there is a guy on eBay. There's a guy that takes these wheels and he chromes them. So what you do is you take that wheel off, you take both wheels off, and strip them completely down. You know, take the tire off, all the bearings and everything, so it's just the wheel. You ship them to him, and he ships you back the exact same wheel, different wheels, but the exact same model number for your bike, and they're completely chrome, and man, do they look sharp. So I always wanted to do that, you know, get the chrome solid wheels. I've been asked before, do those solid wheels affect the performance on the road? Well, it's kind of hard to tell. I'd have to have a bike exactly like this with spoke wheels and then this one with solid wheels, and both ride them on the same day with the same amount of wind force, because you know, when the wind hits you sideways on the highway, it usually buffets you. You can feel it, and I can feel it on this bike, but I felt it on other bikes too. So I can't really tell you that it really heavily affects the performance. I would say not enough to worry about it. So there you go, cats. That's my take on customizing. When have you pushed it a little too far? You know, when you don't want to ride it anymore because you put too much money into it. Mine, I'm pretty proud of it. I'm pretty happy with it the way it is. I'm not going to put a whole lot more into it. It is what it is. I like it. I just like to keep it clean, keep it polished up. Maybe someday, I don't know. We'll see. Until next time, cats, ride hard, die free.